The Valour Bard is one of the strongest classes in D&D and Baldur's Gate 3. So this is my Pure Valour Bard level 1 to 12 with a combat tutorial as well as 24 AC and a huge ass hammer. So let's jump into it. Of course we're going to start with the Bard class, and for your starting cantrips we're going to take Vicious Mockery and we're going to take Minor Illusion. For spells we're going to take Healing Word, so we can heal creatures around us with a bonus action and still have our main action to attack. Thunderwave, because I think it's one of the best spells in the game. Tasha's Hideous Laughter, because especially in the early levels, this is a great way to leave creatures prone and unable to move. And Fairy Fire, which is just a really good target in general for debuffing enemies in terms of if they're within the Fairy Fire, your party has advantage on attacks. So this is a great way to help your party hit better and harder. For your starting instrument, you can take whatever you fancy, they all really do the same. And for your ability points, we're going to have something akin to this. 8 in Strength, 16 in Dexterity, we're going to have 14 in Constitution, as this will help with our Constitution saving throws, 10 Intelligence, 10 Wisdom, and 16 Charisma, as this is our spellcasting modifier. And for your proficiencies, take whatever you feel like you want for your playthrough. And that brings us very nicely to Bard level 2, which gives us access to Song of Rest, so you and your allies are revitalised as though you had taken a short rest, which is a really nice way of just basically buffing yourself up without dipping into your short rest pool. And the Jack of all Trades. You add half your proficiency bonus, rounded down, to ability checks that are not proficient in. So this is just a great way of really helping yourself out with any debuffs you might have. For a spell, we're going to go with Longstrider, as this can be a ritual spell you can cast as soon as leaving camp, and it will not use your spell slots. Okay, Bard level 3, we have access to Cutting Words, so use your wit to distract a creature and sap its confidence. This is really good, this is a reaction, so it can help characters miss, but more importantly, we unlock our specialisation. So, to begin with, we are going to take Hold Person. I think this is a great spell. It is concentration, so it can be lost, but you effectively just hold a humanoid, and then any attacks that are melee on that creature are going to be critical hits guaranteed. So if you can get this and make it last, you can just hold loads of people and chip away at them. And of course, the College of Valour. Again, with your expertise, pick whatever you are specialising in. Which now brings us to Bard level 4, and the key part of this level is the feat that we now have available. So for a spell, you can pick any really, we'll just take Dancing Lights. And for a spell, I would recommend something like Cloud of Daggers, another concentration spell which will pair very nicely with one of the items we're using, but this can just be a nice way of if you can put this in a choke point and make enemies run through it to get to you, you're just going to chip away at them before they've even been able to make it to you. And for your feat, we are of course doing the air side, and we're going to bump our Charisma up to 18. Okay, Bard level 5, this gives us Font of Inspiration, so we now regain all of our bardic inspiration after a long or short rest, which in itself is amazing, but to go with that, we have improved bardic inspiration, so it's now a 1d8, not a 1d6. And your spell here, again, one of my favourite spells in the game, Glyph of Warding. I've said it before and I'll say it again, you throw this down, and if anyone walks into it, it will trigger, but the key thing with this is if you can place it on your turn in a big cluster of enemies, it will trigger at the end of your turn if there are people within it. So this can be a great AoE attack. Okay, Bard level 6, we now have Counter Charm. So you and any allies within 9 meters have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. And we have extra attack. And this is the key part of this. We have 2 attacks now per turn. For a spell, we are going to take Stinking Cloud. So create a cloud of gas so nauseating it prevents the creatures from taking actions. Again, it is another concentration spell, but if you can throw this up behind a bunch of enemies and sort of weaken the crowd behind and just focus on the ones in front or vice versa, really good way of doing that. Okay, Bard level 7, we have access to more spells, and for this one we are going to take Heat Metal. Cause a metal weapon or armour to glow red hot and force the wearer to let go or receive disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks. This is amazing. This is so good at getting an enemy to drop their weapons and then they can just be pummeled. It's so good. And as a bonus, if the creature is still holding that item while it is red hot, you can use a bonus action on other turns to do another 2 to 16 fire damage. Amazing. If they refuse to let it go, You can use your bonus action to do damage, and then hit them twice with your 2 attacks. Okay, level 8, and of course, another feat. First of all, though, we have to pick the spell we're going to use, and for this one, we will take Greater Invisibility. And for your feat, we are going to bump our Charisma up to 20. Now, Bard level 9 gives us access to a level 5 spell slots. So, there are loads of options we can do here. In my opinion, the first spell to take is Hold Monster. It's Hold Person, but on steroids, so you can hold the bigger creatures you will come across in the game. And that brings us very nicely to level 10, which gives us improved Bardic Inspiration. So, to go very thematically with level 10, our Bardic Inspiration is now a 1d10. With access to one more cantrip, and for this let's just take Mage Hand. And our spell here, let's take Mass Cure Wounds. Now when it comes to magical secrets, there are a few options you can do here. I will run through a couple of them for you. Fireball is always amazing, especially if it's upscaled. Counterspell, also very good, but this will use a lot of your spell slots. Haste is also amazing. Anyone that's used Haste will know exactly why it's so good. Hunger of Hadar, one of my favourite spells in the game. I think when I did my top 10, this was like number 2 or 3. I love this spell. Garden of Faith, I also think is very, very powerful. I would leave it probably more on a Cleric though. The same with Spirit Guardians. Again, a really good spell, but if you have a Cleric, no need to have access to this earlier. They can also upcast it more often from an earlier stage. So for me, the first one is Banishing Smite. Now this is actually a Paladin spell, and I think in normal D&D they get it at like level 17 or something like that. So taking this at level 10 of Bard is insanely good. This is the only way to have access to Banishing Smite. And Conjure Elemental, just so we've got another person on the battlefield. And again, for the expertise, take whatever you feel like. And now, Bard level 11, we have level 6 spell slots, and there is only one option to begin with, and that is Otto's Irresistible Dance. This is my favourite spell in the game. There is no saving throw, so this works on Orion, on Savarok, this works on Gortash. Anyone you can land this on, they cannot make a save. They effectively can't do anything but dance, and you will have advantage on those attacks as long as you maintain concentration. If you want to finish a boss fight super quick, Otto's Irresistible Dance is the way to do it. And finally, level 12, we have another spell slot available and another feat. So for the spell slot, we are going to take Eye Bite. Your eyes become black corridors walled in teeth. Your gaze capable of inflicting dread, sickness, or putting creatures to sleep. While concentrating, you may cast Eye Bite without expending a spell slot. So this is something you can cast, and you can keep recasting for free as long as you maintain concentration. And for your final feat, we are going to go with Alert. The +5 to initiative is pivotal, and you can't be surprised, and that will happen a few times. Okay, so that was our level 1 to 12 guide. Now it's time to do some items. Now before we jump into the items I'm actually using, we do have some notable mentions, shall we say. So, for a helmet, the Helm of Baldur is a great way to boost your AC. I believe it gives you a +2 to AC, which will take you to a 26 armor class, which is phenomenal. I'm going to stick with the 24, and I'm going to use a different item, which I'll show you in a second, but the Helm of Baldur is something to go for. There's also the Cloak of Protection. Now, Cloak of Protection is really good. It gives you a +1 to AC, so if you wanted to use that, I would suggest the Helm of Baldur as well, just to really buff your AC up to that 27 mark. You could also use the Evasive Shoes, and that is another +1 to your AC, so then you're looking at 28 overall. For armor, there is options such as the Armor of Agility. Now this actually uses your Dex, so if you wanted to be more of a Dex-based class and bump your Dex up instead of your Charisma, you could, and then you could pair it with this armor. However, we're going to be using the Helldusk armor, which is here, and that's a solid 21 AC, and it gives us things like being able to fly, less damage from all sources, resistance to fire damage, and cannot be burned. We give burning to anyone we succeed a saving throw on, and considering we have such a high AC and constitution, we're going to be doing that a lot. We're proficient with it. A lot of good options. There's also things like the Sword of the Emperor if you want to be a longsword character. Now, Baldur has a +2 bonus to saving throws against spells. Pair this really nicely with the Helldusk armor, where a high chance of saving, and then we can cause burning. Really good. And it also does extra damage against shapeshifters, so that is something to look at as well. You could also go with the Cruel Sting. Now, I do like this weapon, but I think the Orphic Hammer, which you can see here, is much better. And the Orphic Hammer gives you a lot of stuff. So let's go over this. To begin with, we're going to do Birthright. This is a hat you can get in Act 3, and it'll bump your Charisma +2 up to 22 and take it past that level. And if you look at our stats, we actually have no minuses, and we have 3 above the 20 threshold. I like the Flesh Melter Cloak. If you get hit, and we will be a melee based character, the creature that hit you, if it's a melee attack, will take 1 to 4 acid damage. Now I like the Disintegrated Nightwalkers. These might be some of my favourite boots in the game. Stop you being enwebbed, entangled, ensnared, can't slip on ice or grease, but most importantly, gives you Misty Step, another one of my top 10 spells in the game. Now we went over the Helldusk armour, so let's go over the Gauntlets of Hill Giant Strength. +1 to saving throws, and sets our strength to 23. Now this is really good because this pairs nicely with the Orphic Hammer, and this is incredible. We have advantage on saving throws against spells, pairs really nicely with the Helldusk armour, more chance of causing burning. Advantage makes you likely to succeed, roll 2 dice and use the highest value. We have Unshackling Strike, so smite the magical bonds, keeping a creature restrained, paralysed and stunned, freeing it. And as well as bonus attacks like this, like the Concussive Strike, that sort of thing. It's also an item you can throw if you choose to, but please be aware, this isn't a packed weapon, because we're not a Warlock or a Eldritch Knight. You will have to pick it up, so if you throw it, it will not come back to you. Pair this with Viconia's Walking Fortress, probably the best defensive shield in the game. Gives you Rebuke of the Mighty, where you can use your reaction to deal 2 to 8 damage and knock a target prone. Advantage on saving throws against spells, and we get things like Reflective Shell. Pair this all off with the Ring of Regeneration for that 1 to 4 hit points. The Strange Conduit Ring, while concentrating on a spell, will do an additional 1 to 4 psychic damage, and we'll probably be concentrating on spells every combat. And the Amulet of Greater Health. Bumps our Constitution to 23 for a greater health pool, and means it's easier for us to maintain advantage on our spells because we have advantage on Constitution saving throws. So that was our build, levels 1 to 12. Let's go find some combat and see this frontliner bard in action. Okay, so as said before, we have a few options. So before combat even starts, as soon as you leave camp after a long rest, we're going to hit Long Strider. So 4 targets, and we're going to do this on our entire party. Well, unfortunately Will is out of the thing, so you know what, it's fine, we should do it on 3. Okay, we did it on 2, so never mind. But as you can see, it didn't use any of our spell slots. So really, really good way of just getting that extra 3 meters of movement, which really can make the difference in a fight. Okay, we are in combat, and as you can see, our initiative is so high, the Bard and our Rogue are actually paired on the same initiative. So let's switch over to our lovely Bard, and let's start doing some damage. Now, as I said, first up, we have loads of options, but let's begin with Hold Person. Now, we're going to upscale this to do level 3, and we'll try and land it on all of these. And there you go, we're actually holding 2 out of 3, which isn't too bad. And what we can do is our bonus action, Combat Inspiration to our Rogue. And there you go. And now we'll use that Combat Inspiration for a sneak attack. And you can see the mass damage we just did. And as said before, any hits on a hold person is a guaranteed critical, as you can see there. Okay, so let's just see how much damage our lovely Bard can do on its own. So this will be a guaranteed crit, so let's have a look. And there you go, we just did quite a decent chunk of damage for a Bard. And we can go again. And there you go, another critical hit. And we've taken out half their hit points, which still leaves us with our bonus actions available. We could do another Combat Inspiration if we choose to on our lovely Rogue. And you can see the Bard has really just controlled the battlefield here. It might not be the highest damage dealer, but the combat control you have, as well as the frontline prowess and high AC, really make you a powerhouse on the battlefield. I won't give it. And how this works really nicely is if you have a Rogue in your party with Sneak Attack, who can get a guaranteed crit hit, and do over 50 points of damage with their items. And they go, our AC is so high they can't hit us. Now see, you just saw the +4 because we are healing up every round, but let's show off some more stuff. So obviously Misty Step will help you get into positions. Let's just make our life a little easier, let's just Misty Step up here. And our prowess, let's do a few attacks that aren't going to have any buffs to show off just how much damage we can do. There you go, 14 damage a hit. Now you'll definitely get more damage out of a fighter or a paladin, that sort of stuff, but as a bard frontliner whose main job is to just tank and control the battlefield, that's a pretty good chunk of damage. And what's really amazing about this, if you come into something like a hold person, you can target up to 5 people to hold, which can be a massive chunk out the enemy lines. Even some of the biggest battles, that could be at least half. And if you can just hold 5 people and stop them from being able to do anything, while your characters can either critically hit them or focus on the other people, that is a huge advantage on the battlefield. Now, let's again show off a few things we haven't looked at yet. Let's start with Otto's Irresistible Dance, my favourite spell in the game. Again, there is no saving throw, so now they are stuck just dancing. They cannot do anything else. This works, like I said, on any character, no saving throw, and you can make Orin, Gortash, Savrok, anyone just stand there and dance in front of you while you hit them as hard as you can. Okay, now that we've shown that off, let's show off some more high-level spells. Banishing Smite. And there you go, we actually killed him, but 46 points of damage with that spell. And the good thing about that is you can actually count as an attack, so you still have your other action to do something. And we still have options like Conjure Elemental, so let's just throw in a Water Elemental. There you go, if you were to do this at the start of the battle or before combat would begin, you would now have an Elemental rolling around with you, just damaging things as best it can. And as you see, 10 damage. It's not the bulkiest, but it will do a fair amount. And it's just an extra body on the battlefield to help you tank. Alright, well I think it's time for us to finally finish this fight. So, let's go in and just start chipping away. And we can use the lovely Water Elemental to kill some more. And what you've noticed is that the Water Elemental gave it a chilled status on the enemy when it hit it, which is really good because if you have a sort of a Frost Warrior or a Frost-based Wizard or Sorcerer, you can really encrust enemies, and that's such a painful and amazing debuff to put onto people. So that overall is my Valour Bard build. These guys are insane. They are so tanky, so powerful. We have a nice little Water Elemental summon to help us. We can make people dance and all sorts. We can buff our allies. And it's almost impossible for us to lose our spells. And even better, we can short rest and we get all our bardic inspiration back. So if you have enjoyed, please let me know in the comments below and let me know what you would change about this build. Any new items, what you'd take instead, that sort of stuff. If you haven't already, please drop the episode a like, it helps me amazingly, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And hopefully, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.